Recording, comrades, and beginning screen share. Okay, can you hear me okay? Is it working?
Yep.
All right. All right. Comrades, maybe you have been missing some human contact during the pandemic, And I would say that I was suffering from not enough contact before the pandemic too. We got conditions of alienation, right? So here's part of what we've been missing is things like doing art together as a community. Um, and In lots of societies and lots of periods of time, the whole family, the whole neighborhood, the whole damn town has occasions to sing together specifically. So we're going to talk about that. Music and other arts have also always been part of liberation struggles and socialist politics. So why? First, we use music to pass on important knowledge like the history of a struggle, or how to dodge the draft, or how to form a union, or what lies you can expect from your boss. And so you get those kind of intellectual benefits from the lyrics being good. And then on the other hand, you do emotions. We do music and other arts to perform work on people's emotions, including your own. The people you target could be yourself to reaffirm and boost morale. You could be targeting some opponents to pacify them. You could be targeting some outsiders, that you're aiming at to win over new people and maybe make journalists like you. And these are some of the emotional effects that you get from doing the music and from getting to exercise your mind and your body. Now, I'm talking primarily about singing in a really big group. It takes you to a different place, not rushing through a short song, but getting to really vibe together for like 8, 9, 10 minutes on the same song. All right, you may be familiar with some of the socialist songs that were popular in the U.S. in the 19th and early 20th century. You got John Brown's Body. Nope, backwards. Right? And that's the same as Solidarity Forever, but originally John Brown's Body, composed by Union soldiers in about 1861, adapted into Solidarity Forever following a struggle in Chicago in 1915. Then you got the Internationale, more or less, right? Which is comes out of the last moments of the Paris Commune in 1871. You've got Bread and Roses, which comes from the Lawrence, Massachusetts textile strike in 1912, or the words certainly do. The origin of the song is maybe a touch later than that, but then you have We Shall Not Be Moved, which started as a hymn. In fact, it's the version we know is from the Black Church, and it's still, of course, an African American gospel hymn today. And it's been adapted for union movements as early as the 1930s, and for the civil rights movement. And then it also exists in Spanish as No Nos Moverán. It's a really great track there. But why are these so old? 1960 and earlier. And why are all the ones we know? And the other question is, why do contemporary leftist and labor movements have so much less music than the constant singing, the beginning and end of every meeting, that you would have in the early industrial workers of the world, or even the early United Automobile Workers? Well, first we have to you feel like this music is old. If you feel that way, you might be suffering from a case of whiteness, because the loss of this music is particularly a notable feature of white and English-speaking groups. But there is a decrease in tactical singing, as we could call it, across the board. I should be more specific. There has been a loss of the balance between participation and performance. Okay, so in a participatory mode, everybody's singing together. The whole room is ringing like a bell. The whole crowd is singing. And if you're outside, the sound waves build on each other and become far, far stronger, especially when some of the team is singing some harmonies. That versus performance. I love Mike Stout, but it's a different mode, right? There's a small group singing, maybe just one person, and everyone else is pretty much listening. Now these aren't strictly separated. You've got, hip hop is very heavy in performance, but there are moments for participation as well. And both of these modes are useful, right? It's not that one is better than the other in any way. The participation gets everyone on the same wavelength. It gets you to physically do something together. It's fun and also challenging, and you get to be creative in your own expression. So participation singing is easier for your voice than chanting for hours on end when you're just screaming. Um, and when you're doing participatory style, there's a quantity has a certain quality all of its own, right? So you get more than you take a bunch of random people, about more than about 10 of them singing together, and suddenly they're going to sound great. Everything's just going to click together. Um, and performance is nice too. Of course, it gives the crowd some time to rest their voices, and you see plenty of performance in leftist actions. And specialized performers can do music that is way more complex than what a big group can do. So you might wonder about there are some genres that are centered on performance, but the barrier to entry for performers is less forbidding. So punk and also hip hop, I mentioned, make it easier to be a performer than some of these other genres. But there's a kind of participatory sphere which is opened up, but it's not the same as a mass sing-along context. It's a lower barrier to entry to be the performer. So singing along with a huge group of people does put some technical restrictions on what you can do. Like your songs basically have to be pretty simple, which is also part of why like they feel old. There's all these church songs, really simple songs. So that's why so many church songs get recycled for tactical singing. So less participatory singing and less of this music being done in movements and over the past half century or really 70 years. So why would that be? Well, you got your McCarthyism, right? You've got your we're going to talk about four developments here very briefly. There's this repression of anyone who might vaguely seem leftist at all in the 1950s and the early 1950s especially. So leftist musicians, and this hit people who were doing participatory style, were forced out of their profession or kept off of the cultural scene. Another element is recording and broadcast technology in the 20th century becomes much more developed. There's so much more that you can listen to at home. So instead of, we just got to listen to Auntie Floss strumming the banjo over here, now we can listen to Jimi Hendrix coming over the radio. It's way more impressive. So it's not make it at home music entirely once you get recording. Then we have the alienation that I was describing, right? We have the sort of social atomization, right? Everybody's living alone, working longer hours, your participation in other social spheres, like religious organizations or civic groups and sports clubs and of course choirs and unions is fallen off, right? So that's part of this too. And then there's another element to this, which is the professionalization, the idea that you've been alienated from your own artistic expression with the feeling that you need to be good enough to do something professionally if you're going to do it at all, or if you're going to do it in front of people. But we can try to let go of that. I'm hoping. Yes, indeed, there is some hope. People are still doing music. People are doing sea shanties, which is a kind of labor music, and extremely well suited singing in a big old crowd. A lot of them are. And I'm hoping that later this year we're all going to be singing nice sea shanties in a crowd, 50, 60, 70, 80 strong, and other labor music. And I at the same time there have been all these famous artists doing a more participatory style of music at Black Lives Matter actions this past year, and there are lots of groups doing political music in Pittsburgh. So. There are some that you can join regardless of what you might consider to be your skill level. So we'll hopefully we can get connected with those groups and help each other do that. And the last thing I have is some lists of some resources for you. to go in that direction. And the first of that, before we move into sort of Q&A mode, is going to be just some basic tools, okay, to know when you're getting into doing collective participatory singing, okay? You want a song that has a chorus or a refrain, right? The part that repeats. That way, everybody can easily join in, at least on that part, right? Or you want a zipper song. This is Lee Hay's original term. A zipper song is one where it's pretty much the same song repeats over and over again, but one little part switches out. So Roll the Union On is like this. This Little Light of Mine is like this. She'll be coming around the mountain is like that. She'll be doing this when she comes. She'll be doing this and that. And every verse is the same except one little part changes. And the last thing is that there is not a final and closed list of union songs and other activist protest songs. People are always making new ones, right? Including by adapting popular songs to be about political issues. And there are some classic songs, but part of those classic songs is the tradition of freely adapting and updating the lyrics. Okay, there's a line I'll tell you in Power in the Union, or Power in a Union, a Joe Hill song. So it's over 100 years old at this time, and the line goes, it used to be a "Do your share like a man." Okay, and then that became "Do your share, take a stand," and then nowadays it's "Do your share, lend a hand." And it works great. And such esteemed old artists as Utah Phillips were in favor of this move too. So you can always be changing up the lyrics to adapt them to stuff, and we're always doing that in the Pittsburgh Labor Choir. I don't know how long I'm doing on time here. Anyway, here's the online resources. I'm going to put these in the chat. But a few links you can go to. This number 4, this Pete Seeger workshop on song leading, is just a glorious experience. Check out Lindsay Ellis as well, and look up Ann Feeney if you don't know about Comrade Ann yet. And there's other people in the area, but that's just one. Then there's some CDs you can get from the library. These are the ones that I like, but you can get more, And then the last item is some further literature that I have that I like, and I really recommend some of these. The Big Red Songbook and the Little Red Songbook are nice, but they're terribly organized. They're very hard to use. So the People's Songbook is a nice one, and then Songs of Work and Protest is not bad too. That one has a lot of sheet music. Anyway, discussion time, Q&A time, and I will see about posting those links and so on and so forth in the chat. I better end screen share if I'm going to do that, though. Okay.
I'll do Stack. Grants on Stack.
Hi.
Okay.
First of all, great presentation. Really turned out well. I know that, and the conversation that you and I had before this, we talked a lot about the future, and I think what you included on that last slide about the hope of the future was really good. Something that I hadn't thought about before, but that I thought about as you were talking, is like stylistically, if we're going to really bring back participatory style singing, which like wasn't really something that I'd thought about much before our conversation, but now I think would be a really great thing to do. Like, how are we going to adjust that to a modern generation? Because historically those songs were in the style of songs that those people would have sang. And I mean, like, I can always turn up to some Woody Guthrie. I don't know about you, but probably most people in 2021, that's probably not their jam. So like, but most of those contemporary styles of music that people most likely listen to on their own aren't participatory styles of music. So I think it's kind of an interesting challenge if we can like come up with music that not only accounts for participation, but is also the kind of thing that stylistically that young people in 2021 are going to want to listen to and sing and share with their friends, but can also be performed at actions. I don't know. I don't expect you to have an answer for that. I don't know. It's an interesting point that I kind of want to raise.
It's definitely a challenge. It's a challenge that can be met, I think, if I may answer that uh, because like bands, popular bands like doing things that everybody sings along to from time to time. You know, like they like that. That's an effect about people. It's a fact about people that's not going away. So that's going to always be there. I don't know if I had some friends who were kind of down on this song, but we want childcare. We want childcare in our contract, and that contract protects workers just like you, etc. And I would strike 500 days, and I would strike 500 more just to be the union that had struck 3 years and got what we came for, etc. So but and then there's we have some Rebecca Sugar songs from Steven Universe that we've adapted in Labor Choir a little bit. But like there's lots of things out there, and there's the teacher strike stuff, right? We're not going to take it. Twisted Sister is a major, produced one of the best labor songs that there is. So
Yeah.
no, but it is a challenge to find them. You're absolutely right, because the style is like all over the place. So you've got to really search for the thing or make a version of it. But I think it's possible to find. It is definitely a challenge. I don't know. I think I didn't. I'm not seeing what the stack might be. I'm sorry. Um,
George is on stack.
let's do it.
Thanks for that presentation. I thought that was very interesting. Just wondering if you think that there are musical forms that are intrinsically bourgeois or not. So, for example, what happens to music after the revolution, right? Do we still have opera, and, how do we handle like virtuoso musical forms that tend to have high barriers to entry?
Yeah, that's a fascinating question. I mean, the I had a who said one time that the very concept of performance is a bourgeois concept, like the idea that people are going to be doing a concert in front of you, and you're just going to sit there listening to it as these people dedicated to doing it. I don't know. I'm not sure. Like that's an open question to me, right? I also like the saying that nothing is too good for the working class, and that people deserve every different thing that they want. Bread and roses. The roses being the arts and so on and so forth. But I think that we're going to find that that the economic and the cultural are going to influence one another inevitably. But yeah, I don't know. I think I was convinced. Frankly, I was getting kind of anti-performance until I watched this that Seeger song leading workshop, which is just Pete Seeger for 2 hours in somebody's living room in 1980. So if you want to have like a simulated socialist grandfather experience, actually a communist grandfather experience, go watch that video of Pete Seeger. Um, anyway, yeah, I don't know. I think for the particular tactical purpose that I think we are needing to get more of, I think the participatory thing is unique. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, what's the sort of border between participation and performance, right? Like, so you mentioned that before recording and broadcasting, right, people would play their own music. That was much more common, right? So, I mean, that's so somebody could just in an amateur capacity sing like an opera air, right, in the evening, right? And then you can also do it as at a higher level, sort of a more virtuoso kind of level. I mean,
Yeah, people
always
people enjoy
want
people enjoy
participation in
nice. Yeah,
performance.
I mean people enjoy a nice performance and stuff. I don't know. I think my comrades in New York choir sing in solidarity, who like are by and large people who moved to New York to do musical theater, would like really be into having some very high level virtuosic performance and making sure that that always remains as something that people can enjoy. Um, and specialize in if they want. But this depends. It's a question of what kind of social structure we want, because what kind of art it supports. You know. Um, but yeah, I think yeah. So well, let's yeah. Oh, poor Beethoven. No, Zach, come on, let's do it. You got anything?
I was just gonna put the point that I already wrote up there about like
Oh
seeing
yeah,
orchestras
orchestras come out and
performing
perform it. Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
Chile and France, like especially since like they were supporting like the in Chile. I remember they were playing the famous Allende era socialist song during the protests. I forget the name of the
Mm-hmm.
what's the
De
name of the song. It's a really
fiesta
moving.
que vamos a
Yes, that one. I
triunfar,
can't remember what's the name of that.
avanzan ya. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. Um, yeah. Anyway, well, the entire cultural structure which supports the existence of fine art and everything is a debate which I think is maybe a good one to have, but um, yeah, they're workers too. The classical musicians are workers too. The opera singers are doing work, you know, and it's quite taxing. Anyway,
George, you're back on stack.
Just if somebody else who hasn't spoken yet wants to go, they should go. I was actually just going to respond to Veronica S's comment in the chat there. I mean, this seems almost like a kind of an instance of a broader question of what to do about the division of labor, right, under socialism, and how we transform that the capitalist division of labor into a socialist division of labor, or even if there should be a division of labor, right? Like some people think people would rotate jobs under a socialist regime.
I mean, you could also say everybody gets to do opera, right? Everybody gets to become really, really good at whatever instrument they want to have fun playing and things like this. This is the other. Um, yeah, orchestras totally have strong unions, and in fact, Anne Feeney was at one point the president of the musicians union in Pittsburgh. Although I understand that she wasn't a great manager, more of a better, but wasn't a great bureaucrat, but a great comrade in all other ways. Yeah. I love how we're having this fascinating conversation in the sidebar. But this all of the basis of what I'm saying here is based on doing labor choirs for a couple of years and just having tried to practically learn a lot of this music and try to do it in tactical moments. Do it at in a useful way at a picket line or at a meeting when people are exhausted. um, and need their spirits lifted up a bit. And so that's where my authority on this is coming, if any. I think but you have your experience and your authority on this too, everybody. So if whatever you might want to share is welcome. Your other questions and stuff. I've got all my books here. Okay. The harmonica was. I'm like okay at harmonica. I don't know. Yeah. With the thing with the harmonica, you take the harmonica with you while you're waiting for the bus. That's the true. That's the way. Then you have like good 10 minutes, 20 minutes of practice every day.